Everyone, in today's session, I'm going to share with you one of our recent implementations that we did for one of our clients, where we created an Apex web service to capture incoming payload JSON from an external system, and which will eventually create opportunity records in Salesforce. So that was the high-level requirement that we have. And for my introduction, I am Gaurav Bhardwaj, and I have 13 plus years of experience in Salesforce development, architecture, and creating solution design documents, working with clients across US and APAC region. Yeah, to come on to the problem statement that we were addressing for this customer was there are multiple organizations which often require an API endpoint to create opportunity record or any other object from external system into Salesforce. We There are easier approaches to using standard S object API endpoints, which the external system can use to send a payload and create S object records in Salesforce. But there were some complexities in our requirement from the customer side. Uh, for example, we required some complex validation rules on the incoming payload, and we had some business logics which required us to pre-populate some fields on opportunity based on certain business rules which are configured in custom metadata objects. And we need to have a centralized error handling mechanism logs and also integration payload logs, which helps us to better debug and identify issues if there are any, especially in the production environment where we have minimal visibility on the logs. So for that, uh, what we did is we created an Apex web service, and using the custom code, we handled the incoming payload, and then we handled all the validation checks that the customer wanted us to have. Then we had a metadata driven architecture where, based on certain field values, uh, we had to pre-populate other fields and opportunities governed by the business requirements, uh, and a better way to handle integration logs and error logs. So this is the process flow diagram for the whole architecture that we designed. On the left hand side, you can see this is an external system. It can be any system, Azure or AWS, and that makes a call out to our web service in Salesforce. We then handle the incoming payload, and then the rule based field value assignment fires and populates all the fields that are required by looking into the metadata lookups. And I'll give you a high level demo of how each and everything works. So before that, I'm just trying to give you a process flow diagram, how the data flows through the system, validation happens, and yeah. So once the field population is executed, all the fields are populated, we try to create the record, but we also have an error handling mechanism. So because of some internal validations or some uh, changes on the schema, if there are any exceptions, the exception log is captured on a separate object. And if there are no exceptions or exceptions occurred, we capture the log details on the log payload details object. Then based on the success and failure of the record creation, we send the respective response back to the external system. So that's the high level flow of how it works. What can be the real life use cases of this kind of design? Uh, this kind of design can be used for many application requirements like marketing automation. You have some marketing leads or opportunities being generated in an external system that you want to capture in your CRM system, that is Salesforce in this case, or even customer support agent who is trying to upsell certain opportunities to their existing customer or a new customer. Then if you want to sync a legacy system with the Salesforce application, you can import those data into Salesforce using this endpoint. This is my overall experience. I have 13 plus years of experience. I am well versed with Apex Serverless REST API, have hands-on data cloud agent force, CI/CD, and also have good hands-on experience in the security model and the low-code platform tools like Flow and automation or approval process. If you want to build scalable Salesforce solutions which are based on standard rules and best practices, you can definitely get in touch with me. This is my email address, or you can also connect with me on LinkedIn, and we can take it from there. So let me quickly go over to the demo of how we build this app. So this is a uh, dummy build of our existing project that we did for the client, and this demo is built just for the presentation purpose. And you can see that we have created the web service class, and that's exposed on this path. So we can call this path from postman or any API testing tools and then test it out. And here we are initializing the payload object where we are going to save the payload body. Here we are deserializing the payload body, and we are extracting all the fields that we want to save on the opportunity. We are fetching the custom metadata, and based on the payload data that we have received, we are getting the right records. So for our example, we are dynamically populating the region and the priority on the opportunity based on the source and industry provided on the payload. So we're getting the right mapping here, and then dynamically populating the region and priority fields on the opportunity. This can be more complex based on different regions or business units that you have. You can have complex business scenarios, and mappings can be done on the custom metadata. Uh, then we are just populating the payload log object to make sure we capture the payload for further investigation in case there are some issues or we want to do some testing. And if there are any exceptions, we capture those on the error exception log object, and then send a response to the external application based on the status code, whether it is a success or a failure. Now, to test this application, I will open the Postman, and let's go over to the body. So I have this sample payload that I have created, which we will use in order to create an opportunity. Let me click on send. We have already authenticated our Postman with the auth, and this is the success message that's received from our web service. We can uh, standardize this and change the structure based on the need and the requirement of the downstream system. So for this opportunity, let's try to open this opportunity that got created recently, that just got created. Yeah, so yeah, this got created just now. It got all the details that we wanted to pass. Okay, now let me move over to. I'll show you the custom metadata routing that we have. So based on the industry and source, we were populating the priority and region fields on the opportunity. So that's how it's configured, and we can add more priority and regions to. We can add more industry and regions to populate the priority and source on the opportunity. So no code change will be required. And then to show you how the logs get captured on the integration log payload. So yeah, so yeah, this is how the logs are getting captured. As you can see, the complete payload request payload is getting captured on this body. And also, if you have some like this particular response has a success response, so even the response gets captured, and also the ID to the opportunity that got created, so it's easier to track all the integration payload logs. And in case there are some exceptions during the payload or call out, those are also captured on the exception log objects. Here you can see the exception type and the exception messages are all captured here, along with the integration payload link, so you can navigate, open these links, uh, open these links and see what the payload looked like for which the error occurred. Yeah, that's it for the demo. So if you have any inputs or feedbacks, and if you have similar requirement in your project, do get in touch with me. I have very good hands-on experience with both development, customization, integration, working on LWC security models and no code tools. Thank you so much.